Hello, I'm Isaac Hayes III, founder and CEO of Fanbase. Listen to what I'm about to tell you. The window to invest in Fanbase is closing. We've raised over $10.6 million of our $17 million goal. That means there's room for less than 6,370 people to invest in Fanbase for the average amount. The minimum to invest in Fanbase right now is $399. That makes you an owner in Fanbase today. Go to startengine.com/fanbase to invest. Why? Because current social apps have taken advantage of users for far too long, with content suppression, shadow banning, harmful racist content, and no real tools for monetization and equity. Fanbase has over 1.4 million users and counting, allowing anyone to reach all their following and monetize their content from day one. Social media is the new TV, and whoever owns the apps that distribute that content have the opportunity to own potential billion-dollar companies. While big platforms with uncertain futures are failing to serve their users, Fanbase is stepping up to fill the gap. Don't wait until it's too late. Invest now, invest for yourself and your future. Go to startengine.com/fanbase and own the next generation of social media.
Folks, Black Star Network is here.
Hold no punches.
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
Stay black. I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig? Hey, folks, hope all is well. Today is June 11, 2025. Coming up on Roland Unfiltered, streaming live on the Black Star Network. Well, guess what? The twice impeached, criminally convicted felon-in-chief Donald Trump, he continues to do his nonsense. So he's now saying he's going to restore the Confederate names to military bases across the country. That's what white supremacists do. So, folks, Washington, D.C. is preparing for Donald Trump's birthday celebration. Oh, it's supposed to be about the 250th anniversary of the U.S. Army. It's probably going to cost anywhere from $25 to $45 million in D.C., but is he going to reimburse D.C.? He didn't do it last time. You know it's not going to happen. Also, Congresswoman Sheila Cherfilus-McCormick joins us to discuss the growing condemnations of Trump's sweeping new travel ban and the impact on immigrants in this country. Plus, Democratic leaders Hakeem, Jeffries, and Chuck Schumer, they plead with House Republicans to do the right thing and vote no on the GOP tax scam known as the Big Beautiful Bill. Plus, in New Jersey, a federal grand jury indicts Democratic Congresswoman McIver on federal charges stemming from a clash outside of a federal detention center last month in Newark. In tonight's Tech Talk, we'll discuss AI workshops, how they can benefit the black community, and how the Trump cuts have impacted this program here in Atlanta. It is time to bring the funk on Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. Let's go.
He's got it. Whatever the miss, he's on it. Whatever it is, he's got the scoop, the fact, the find. And when it breaks, he's right on time and it's rolling. Best believe he's knowing. Putting it down from sports to news to politics. With entertainment just for kicks, he's rolling. It's on go, roll, y'all. It's Roland Martin, rolling with Roland now. He's funky, he's fresh, he's real, the best, you know he's Roland Martin now.
The tragedy of having an idiot in 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue means that we have crazy, ridiculous, insane public policy. What we're seeing take place in this country with the attack on immigrants and migrants shows you how shameful and despicable Donald Trump and the Republican Party is. Now, the problem is that what you're seeing in Los Angeles was caused by them, was caused by crazy, deranged, overzealous ICE agents. And we don't even know if they're even ICE agents because they're hiding their faces and refusing to show ID. They are literally grabbing people off the street, not even providing warrants, sharing no information with their families. There are people who have been taken, who have been put behind bars, and their family members have no idea what has happened to them. That should not be happening in this country. But I need people to understand what we are seeing take place right now in Los Angeles. They want to do all across the country. Don't be mistaken by what you're seeing. They are coming to your city. They are going to be in Florida. They're going to be in Texas. And you're going to see these things happen over and over and over again. So just be prepared for this. Now, he also, of course, has moved forward with his travel ban. Remember, the first time it was a Muslim travel ban. Now he's targeting 12 predominantly African and Middle Eastern nations from entering the United States. That's what we're seeing from this fool. Last night, California Governor Gavin Newsom gave a televised address. He spoke for nearly 10 minutes talking about the shameful actions of Donald Trump. This is what the governor of the fourth largest economy in the world had to say.
This past weekend, federal agents conducted large-scale workplace raids in and around Los Angeles. Those raids continue as I speak. California is no stranger to immigration enforcement, but instead of focusing on undocumented immigrants with serious criminal records and people with final deportation orders, a strategy both parties have long supported, this administration is pushing mass deportations, indiscriminately targeting hardworking immigrant families, regardless of their roots or risk. Donald Trump, without consulting California law enforcement leaders, commandeered 2,000 of our state's National Guard members to deploy on our streets, illegally and for no reason. This brazen abuse of power by a sitting president inflamed a combustible situation. He again chose escalation. He chose more force. He chose theatrics over public safety. He federalized another 2,000 Guard members. He deployed more than 500 active U.S. Marines. Today, we sought an emergency court order to stop the use of the American military to engage in law enforcement activities across Los Angeles. This isn't just about protests here in Los Angeles. When Donald Trump sought blanket authority to commandeer the National Guard, he made that order apply to every state in this nation. This is about all of us. This is about you. California may be first, but it clearly will not end here. Other states are next. Democracy is next. Democracy is under assault before our eyes.
Folks, Congresswoman Sheila Cherfilus-McCormick, Democrat from Florida, joins us right now. She's a member of the House Committee on Homeland Security. Glad to have you here. What do you make of just this craziness coming from this man?
I think it's a lot of propaganda and a lot of distractions that's very harmful to all Americans. We have to understand that when they implement these policies, they don't actually give you due process so you can actually prove to them what is your status. They just go after whoever they're profiling. Today, they're profiling Hispanic people. They're also looking at Black people who they believe are Haitian. But then the truth is, they don't give you an opportunity to prove that you're actually legally here. So I think everybody should be very alert and very aware that the implementation and the propaganda behind this, and be clear, when I say the propaganda behind this, there's no need to have such a gross showing of force. There is no need to have the National Guard. There is no need to be tackling people, shooting rubber bullets. None of this is called for. This is just to intimidate us from standing up and protesting about what is right, which is everybody has an opportunity and should have due process, and we shouldn't just be targeting people and snatching them off the streets.
Well, the reality is there is a need, and for Trump, for Stephen Miller, for Tom Homan, it is the need to treat this like a television show. That is what they are doing. What their whole goal is, they want to show how tough they are, how brash they are. The reality is that President Obama, President Biden, they deported millions of people from this country, but they want to make a show of this. And so having a show of force is what they are all about.
Absolutely. I think it's definitely to intimidate, and we have to understand why they want to intimidate us. They want to intimidate us so we can be pushed into submission and to rubber stamp whatever their agenda is. But let's also be clear that there are people who are in this party who do want a culture war, and they are actually pushing us closer and closer to that, where they actually said, hey, the enemy is going to be Black and brown people. The enemy are Haitian people. And the truth is, if you look at this total ban that they're instituting, Haiti has no reason to have a total ban. There has never been any kind of data that supports that Haiti has ever been violent towards the United States or any other country, or even supports that there's ever been any kind of national security threats. So this is just pretextual. And when you want to really look into it and see the racism that's behind it, Cuba has been designated as a country that's a terrorist country, but they have a partial ban, whereas Haiti has a full-blown ban, and it's never had any data to support such a thing. The second thing they talk about is overstay. The truth is the only overstay you have when it has with Haitian people or when the TPS has been extended. So there really is no basis for them to actually institute a total ban. But this goes right back to the culture war they're trying to institute. This goes right back to the discriminatory policies when it comes to foreign affairs. And it comes back to intimidating and threatening people of color to stand down and be quiet.
What are the conversations like with your fellow Republicans on this committee? What are they saying?
Well, I think they're really scared to say anything, to be honest with you, because especially in Florida. So my committee is Foreign Affairs, and in Foreign Affairs, we do have Salazar, who lives in South Florida, and she's actually one of the ranking members, the chairwoman for Western Hemisphere. And when it comes to this, you know, her whole community is Haitian, Cuban, Venezuelan, and so everybody's up in arms. And when I talk to the people in the community, they all feel betrayed, especially by their Republican counterparts who represent them. And mind you, these are the people who were dancing around the place talking about, oh my God, I'm going to vote for Trump. Well, oh my God, guess what? He's coming to deport you. He's coming after you. And so right now, when they should be standing up and defending them, they are cowering back and trying to be silent, but they're going to be held to task because the whole community is outraged. All of South Florida, every community is outraged.
Can you make that point again about the Republicans who stood with him, who now say, this is not what we voted for?
It absolutely is what they voted for. And, you know, I remember the videos, we saw them everywhere, all throughout the communities, dancing and praising Trump and saying they're going to dance for Trump, they're going to vote for Trump. But Trump turned around and actually targeting them. He's targeting them more than anybody else. The Venezuelan community, the Cuban community. Now, these were top Trump supporters. And for some reason, they thought he was going to go after everyone else, but not them. And it makes you wonder, who was the other people you thought he was going to go after when he talked about immigrants? Did you not realize you also was an immigrant, just like everybody else who's living in South Florida? And that's where we have to actually hold everybody to task. When he had this propaganda, when he was saying all these statements about immigrants being criminals, being violent, when he was making statements about Haitians eating cats and dogs, which none of it was true, they were silent. They were silent, but they were very outspoken in supporting him. And now that he's filling all these detention centers with all the Hispanic people, the Cuban, the Venezuelans, now we see them pushing back. And I want to give you an example. In 2021, I actually started visiting detention centers. And when I visited, it was 50-50, 50% Black, 50% Hispanic. When I visited this time, it was only 8% Black, and the rest of the 92% were Hispanic, which make it very clear that he's been targeting and going after Hispanic people.
I want to bring in my panel right now. Joy Chaney is founder of Joy Strategies out of Washington, D.C. Joe Richardson is civil rights attorney out of Los Angeles. Rebecca Carruthers, executive vice president, Fair Election Center out of Washington, D.C. Rebecca, we'll start with you.
So what do we do? A lot of us are watching what's happening. There are many people who are going to the streets, but also understanding the streets aren't necessarily safe if doing that type of direct protest. What should ordinary Americans do in this moment as we're watching the rise of tyranny, as we're seeing authoritarianism, as we're seeing very unconstitutional acts being carried out by the president?
Well, what I've been telling everybody is that there really is a war going on out there, and everyone needs to be on the front line. And the reason why I say that is because there's so-called poor implementation or total disregard. There's a reason why Americans are being picked up also and being sent out of the country with a total disregard. If you think you're safe, you are not. But we do have a responsibility to get up and start fighting now, because today it's immigrants. It's the war on immigrants. Tomorrow it's going to be us. It's going to be Americans who they're coming after. And if you understand how these kind of totalitarian regimes work, they work on fear, intimidation, actually pursuing you, having these gross showings of force. So I tell everybody to get on the front lines right now, fight, uplift your voice, and say, we're not having it. And the good thing about it, when we have pushed back on this administration, they have backed around, they have backed down. You know, we say taco because they do back down. So this is a time when we push forward and say, we're not going to stand for this, and we're not going to allow America to turn into this.
Joe?
Appreciate what you're doing, Congresswoman. I would ask, is there anything that you think the Democrats should be doing more or doing better as it pertains to keeping up the fight here in Congress?
I think we just have to be more aggressive in the community. We've been doing a good job, I think, in Congress, fighting and pushing, but everybody has to be on the same page. And unfortunately, I think some people think that this immigration issue is not their issue, but it is everybody's issues, because the truth is, at night, we're all watching this, and everyone is terrified and everyone is disgusted. So when we all start talking in unison and saying this is not tolerable, this is not world leadership, and this is not making America great, then everybody will understand that the fight is ours, and that this is not just for a certain group.
Thank you.
Well, you're absolutely right regarding that. Joy?
Well, first of all, I think I'm having bandwidth issues, so I hope you can hear me. One of the things I think Democrats are going to have to reconcile is the fact that polling shows that many Americans are concerned with illegal immigration. And while they're not supportive of lack of due process, they are generally supportive of deportations. How do you reconcile that in your messaging as a Democrat?
Well, I think it's very clear that we could talk about being in the United States as legal status, which we all agree. You need to be legal. We don't really want people coming here illegal. But when you see people being tear gassed, when you see people being shot with rubber bullets, when you see Americans coming out there and protesting of having the National Guard out there, these are grotesque uses of force. And these are Americans who are protesting. That's when it becomes unacceptable. This is no longer an issue of illegality. This is an issue of, is this how we treat Americans? Is this how we even treat people who are foreigners or who are in this country? Because we have to distinguish the two. Many of these people are legally here. They're just targeting them. They're intentionally going to graduations where their parents are there to watch their kids graduating and grabbing them. Not saying, hey, we want to see you in court, but you're grabbing them in graduation. At some point, we have to say that this is inhumane and this isn't right. Tearing families apart in public, there's nobody right now who's watching this who wants this. And I think if we're silent, people are going to grow even more and more frustrated with our party because this does not look like America. This should not be America. When I'm watching these videos, I had to ask myself, are we in a third world country? What country is this? Because this doesn't look like America. And it eerily reminds me of January 6th, where they were allowed to kind of break into our buildings and try to fight and overturn and try to hang Nancy Pelosi. And so we're losing control every single day. Every day, everybody's watching this and they're upset. So I think we need to be clear about what this is. Should this activity be happening in America? Should we be going after Americans who are protesting? And do we even value our First Amendment rights?
Lastly, on that point, you've got Donald Trump threatening people, saying that if there are protests at his birthday military parade, it is not a celebration of the 250 years of the U.S. Army. It's really all about him. That he says protesters will be met with a major force. This man does not believe in the First Amendment.
Absolutely. I think it's becoming clearer and clearer that the people who he respects, which we've already knew that he had respect for authoritarian leaders, that now he is acting like it. And this is when, as Americans, we're defining ourselves for the next decade. Do we believe in the right that you shouldn't be able to protest because you're going to be met with force? Absolutely not. That is not democracy. When you're silencing the media, when you're silencing people, when you're silencing protests, when you're silencing any opposition, that is what you call a dictatorship. Dictatorship 101. That's what this is. So I think every American must be engaged right now. Every American must know what you're looking at. And I think that's why some people are actually being a little bit on the sideline, because America really hasn't seen a dictator. I've seen a dictator. I've heard about dictators. My mother still has PTSD from growing up in Haiti, where she saw dictators target children, target protesters, and also target the media. And once they're able to silence everyone, that's when they actually start attacking the people more aggressively. And that's what we have to stop.
All right, then. Congresswoman, we surely appreciate it. Thank you so very much.
Thank you for having me.
All right, folks, going to a break. When we come back, more about the drama happening in the nation's capital. Also, we're going to talk about this idiot Trump speaks before troops yesterday, a grossly partisan speech. We're going to break it down for you. You're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered right here on the Black Star Network.
On the next Get Wealthy with me, Deborah Owens, have you ever had $1 million idea and wondered how to bring it to life? Well, it's all about turning problems into opportunities. On our next Get Wealthy, you'll learn of a woman who identified the overload bag syndrome, and now she's taking that money to the bank through global sales in major department stores.
And I was just struggling with 2 or 3 bags on the train. And I looked around on the train and I said, you know what? There are a lot of women that are carrying two or three bags.
That's right here on Get Wealthy, only on Black Star Network.
This week on A Balanced Life, we're talking about single father parenting. You've got it. Faith, family, and fatherhood. What does it mean to be a single parent father, spending time with your kid, whether it's a son or a daughter? Whether you ask for it, plan for it, or by tragedy or accident, you step into the role.
I didn't take it as a woe is me moment or like, what am I going to do? It's like, matter of fact, I looked at it, I rolled up my sleeves and I said, hey, whatever it takes.
That's all this week on A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie here on Black Star Network.
This week on The Other Side of Change.
We are here talking about the unfortunate case of 30-year-old Adriana Smith, who was diagnosed and pronounced as brain dead at 9 weeks pregnant and is being kept alive by the state to carry this pregnancy out to full term without any input from her family. It's a really harrowing example of the lack of bodily autonomy we have in a post-war world, and we're going to dream bigger. Join us on The Other Side of Change, only on the Black Star Network.
Hey, what's up? It's Sammy Roman, and you are watching Roland Martin Unfiltered.
Folks, yesterday, the twice-impeached, criminally convicted felon-in-chief Donald Trump was in North Carolina at Fort Bragg speaking before American troops. Normally, when a person who occupies the Oval Office is speaking to American troops, they don't give partisan speeches because the military is not partisan. Yet yesterday, that's exactly what he did. He had these troops jeering at the media assembled. It was a gross speech. What was really shameful was this idiot talking about restoring the names of Confederate domestic terrorists to military bases. Now, keep in mind what happened here. Congress passed a law getting rid of these names, saying we don't want military bases named after Confederate white domestic terrorists. Well, Republicans didn't like that. Donald Trump really didn't like that. So he's been hell-bent on saying, no, we need to reverse that. Listen to this.
For a little breaking news, we are also going to be restoring the names to Fort Pickett, Fort Hood, Fort Gordon, Fort Rucker, Fort Polk, Fort A.P. Hill, and Fort Robert E. Lee. We won a lot of battles out of those forts. It's no time to change. And I'm superstitious, you know, I like to keep it going, right? I'm very superstitious. We want to keep it going. So that's a big story. We just announced that today to you for the first time. They said, why didn't you wait till Saturday? I said, I can't wait. I got to talk to my friends here today. This is a record crowd. You never had a crowd this big. That's an honor. You think this crowd would have showed up for Biden? I don't think so. I don't think so. I don't think so. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, you are wrong, and you're shameful and despicable. But let me tell you what they're doing. They're not reverting back to the Confederate names. What these racists did was go find other soldiers that had the same last name as the Confederate folk and then renaming it after them. These people literally are stupid, Joy. They're stupid.
They're stupid, and they're also very racist. That is what's happening here. And I'm going to be honest with you. What was most concerning wasn't Donald Trump. It were the claps and the cheers from the audience. we have a problem here, and it's not just Donald Trump. We spend so much time on him. But the fact of the matter is, we have a racist populace. I don't think they're the majority of people, but there is a defining number of people out there who are bigoted against racial and ethnic minorities, against women. They're misogynist and sexist towards women, of course, sexual orientation minorities as well. And as a nation, we're going to have to talk about that. Why is that? Why has that been allowed to take hold? You know, I'm sure, you know, some of us have, you know, there's some blame in terms of the way we communicate with people. I think that folks have been left behind, which makes them privy and prey to this type of thinking. But a lot of the racism and bigotry that we falsely thought had subsided was really just lying dormant. It is a cancer. And we need to be talking about that in our churches and in our personal relationships. And, you know, for those of us who have relationships with Republicans, our neighbors, we need to be, who are these people? Where are they? Where does it come from? And whose onus is it to fix it? And I think it's white Americans' onus. So we need to figure out that part, because these people are going to be there once we get rid of Donald Trump in 4 years and neutralize him politically in 2. And I believe we will do that. We still have a populace of people who will be dormant again. That's a problem.
But Rebecca, these people have not been left behind. They want to go back to where it was. Let's be real clear. They ain't been left behind anywhere. They don't like where we are going.
You know, the interesting thing is the rank and file of the military is extremely diverse. It's overwhelmingly Black and brown. And so even though we saw visually look like all white people behind Trump, white military folks behind Trump when he made that announcement, these people are going to FAFO. They're going to F around and find out. You can't just show up to a base talking that stuff and don't think that you're not going to get handled. So he could say what he wants to say. He could try to be cute and clever by reverting to those last names that represent racist Confederate traitors to this country. He could do all those things. Every president has the ability to name and rename different military installations. At the end of the day, though, all of these people who think that they're Trump, they think that they're big and bad. People are going to reach the breaking point in this country where the normal everyday racist can't go up to Black people and say these things. They're going to find out real fast. And so what I'm very concerned with in our country is that the temperature is steadily being turned up. And to what point is this president willing to keep turning the temperature up? What is it that he wants? Does he want a full-out civil war? Does he want to incite violence? Does he want to have some type of coup? Does he want to have worse happening in this country? Because people are tired. You know, just everyday life is so hard now. It's very expensive for people, and people are feeling that. And I am really curious, to what end is Trump willing to go? Because I don't think the population in this country is willing to go down the path that he wants to take this country down.
Joe?
Yeah, I think you'll reach a breaking point. He's not very thoughtful in terms of what it is that he's trying to do. You know, divide and conquer can only go so far, particularly when fundamentally at the end of the day, you are in the process of being outnumbered if you're not outnumbered already. Can you, to Rebecca's point, keep turning the heat up? Eventually you can turn the heat up and everything around it is going to burn. Everything around it, there's going to be pressure, and there'll be people going back and forth. There'll be people that aren't, you know, that aren't enamored with the Republican Party, or maybe they aren't enamored with the president for a different host of reasons. But a lot of it, I believe, will eventually come bearing down on him and bearing down on them. And so they really do have to decide how much they want to go through and what it is that they're trying to do. And ultimately, you're cutting off your nose to spite your face when you're just turning people against each other. And you think, you know, it's interesting. Something is happening here. Donald Trump thinks that with what he's doing, he'll always be shall we say, politically safe, right? And at the same time, people that support the president while ignoring what he does that's unconstitutional, that's unseemly, that's illegal, et cetera, they think they'll always be safe, right? And so, interestingly, I think that all of the players in this thing are going to become very, very surprised, because ultimately they'll figure out the thing that they either actively participated in, actively made happen, or looked at with a crime of omission, for lack of a better term, or allowed to happen, ultimately comes back and bites them. And that's what I think everybody on that side of things will eventually have in common.
Roland, can I get in again?
Bottom line is, okay.
I want to believe Joe and Rebecca, but I'm going to be honest with you. I'm thinking this is like 1930s Germany. I think a lot of these folks who we think are going to reach a breaking point might not. I hope they will. I pray that they will. I will be working towards making sure that they do. But I think a lot of these folks are willing to go along just to say that they aren't wrong, are willing to go along to protect their own safety. This is why he's cutting off every path to safety. The encroachment on the law and him approaching what he's going to do to American citizens is there meant to frighten us. And there are people who are thinking, who's going to stop him? The stupid Democrats who are engaging in a re-election right now? No. And internal politics? No. Not them. Who's going to stop them? You got military people who seem to be aligned with Trump. Who's going to stop them? Everyone is silent, including our former presidents. We have got to do something. Otherwise, we are going to find ourselves in a Nazi Germany regime. We are not there yet, but we can get there. Yep. And we cannot afford to think the American people are going to come to their senses. Got it. They have not done so. All right, folks. Got to go to break. We come back. We're going to talk about the passing of a prominent MTV VJ who was battling cancer. The longest, chose to ignore it. You're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. Don't forget to support the work that we do. Join our Bring the Funk fan club. If you want to contribute via Cash App, use the Stripe QR code to do so. You see it right here. All you got to do is click the Cash App pay button to contribute. You can also use the QR code, Stripe QR code, for credit card payments. Checks and money orders, please make them payable to Roland Martin Unfiltered. Send them to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo RM Unfiltered. Zelle, Roland at RolandSMartin.com. Roland at RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. We'll be right back.
Next on the Black Table with me, Greg Carr. An hour of living history with Dr. Richard Mariba Kelsey, thinker, builder, author, and one of the most important and impactful elders in the African American community. He reflects on his full and rich life and shares his incomparable wisdom about our past, present, and future.
African genius is saying that my uncle was a genius, my brother was a genius, my neighbor was a genius. I think we ought to drill that in ourselves and move ahead rather than believing that I got it.
That's next on the Black Table, here on the Black Star Network.
This week on the other side of change.
We are here talking about the unfortunate case of 30-year-old Adriana Smith, who was diagnosed and pronounced as brain dead at 9 weeks pregnant and is being kept alive by the state to carry this pregnancy out to full term without any input from her family. It's a really harrowing example of the lack of bodily autonomy we have in a post-Roe world, and we're going to dream bigger. Join us on the other side of change, only on the Black Star Network.
Bruce Smith, creator and executive producer of The Proud Family, Louder and Prouder, and you're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered.
Folks, some sad news. Ananda Lewis, who, of course, many knew as an MTV VJ. She also hosted BET's Team Summit. She has passed away at the age of 52 with a battle with cancer. She revealed in October of 2024 that she was suffering from stage 4 breast cancer. Now, she openly talked about avoiding getting mammogram. And then when diagnosed, she chose to go the route of alternative medicine as opposed to the traditional routes. Well, as a result, the cancer spread, and she is now dead at the age of 52. I had the opportunity to meet Ananda a couple of times. She was an amazing sister, extremely focused in media. Remember, she had a syndicated television show. So many people, watched her, saluted her. But Rebecca, folks were just shocked and stunned. And she later admitted it was a massive, massive mistake to ignore this thing that was growing inside of her. And after she was diagnosed with stage 4, she implored women to get checked, to get mammograms, things that she didn't do. And so it was heartbreaking to see this story of her choosing not to deal with it. And then by not dealing with it and ignoring it, her cancer spread. Now she's dead at the age of 52.
To get a yearly mammogram, even though the quote unquote recommendation now is, oh, you don't have to go yearly. But guess what? There isn't any medical doctor who was on that review board who made that recommendation. So if you talk to your primary care doctor, if you talk to radiologists, they will tell you they are encouraging people every single year. And also, Black men also need to go in as well, because Black men can also get breast cancer because it's the breast tissue. You don't have to be a biological woman in order to get breast cancer. Go every year. Some of the guidance says, okay, you go your first time at age 40, especially if you don't have a family history. Well, guess what? The number of Black folks who are getting diagnosed with breast cancer do not have a family history of breast cancer. So make sure you're doing the preventative care. Many insurance companies will pay for you to get an annual mammogram. When my mom used to get it used to hurt a lot more, but technology has increased. You could get 3D mammograms. If you don't have insurance, there are many community organizations that has a free mammogram mobile that will go throughout the community, will show up to different events, your local library. But please get tested. I know that we have all sorts of crazy people in this administration who are trying to say that science doesn't matter. It does matter. This is the difference between life and death. I can't tell you what to do once you get tested. I can't tell you what treatment to observe, but get tested.
Her sister, Lakshmi Imuri, announced on her Facebook page her passing. She said she's free and in his heavenly arms, and in a series of broken hearts, Lord rest her soul. And I'm reading several stories here saying that what's really crazy here, Joy, her sister's a physician. Ananda was diagnosed in 2020 with breast cancer. And again, she gave interviews talking about how she literally ignored it. She ignored it, did not want to deal with it, and then chose to go the route of alternative medicine. And clearly that did not result in her being saved.
Yeah. So, many people have an experience with cancer. I'm not alone, but I am a cancer survivor. Thyroid cancer, you can't see it, but my scar is on my neck, and I am a survivor, and I had a great outcome. Many of us don't get screened, and we don't get checked because we are afraid of a bad outcome. But with cancer, as with many diseases, the earlier you found out, the better the outcome. And most people have successful outcomes and live the fullness of their lives. Please don't be ignorant. What you don't know can hurt you. You must go get screened, not just for breast cancer, if you're a man, breast, but also prostate cancer, and for all other types of cancer. And having a primary care physician is central to that. And the other thing you have to do is make sure your politics align with your health. The big, beautiful bill that's out there is looking to cut Medicaid, looking to cut off funding to Planned Parenthood, where many people get their mammograms done for free or heavily discounted rates. And of course, with Medicaid, many people can get those screenings done who need that kind of care. and that kind of insurance. So make sure that you are caring for yourself, both health-wise and also policy-wise. Your life depends on it. It's a real shame that she was not able to live and survive this, and the world is robbed. But at least she was honest about it and sharing the mistake that she made. Herbal teas will not do it. Let me repeat, and that's to the people in my family who believe that foolishness. Herbal teas won't do it. But that doesn't mean you have to have the most invasive process. What you need to do is go to a primary care physician and let your physician guide you in consultation with other medical professionals, and you can get a second opinion.
There was a story that ran at essence.com. I'm going to control room. Y'all could pull that up on your end. I'm sending it to you right now. It was in the January-February issue of Essence magazine where she wrote a particular piece, and she talked about being in the shower in December 2018, feeling a lump in her breast. And then she talked about then going in 2019 and then revealing to her exactly what was going on. And it was a very fast-moving, aggressive form. And then what she said that she chose to take a different route. She said, I dove into the research and learned that environmental and lifestyle factors influence 90% of what causes cancer. So I stopped drinking alcohol. I stopped consuming sugar. I did a cleanse to get the buildup of toxins in my body out. I began to shift the way I managed stress. My goal was to do things that supported my body's ability to continue to be whole enough to heal instead of destroying it up front. I also couldn't figure out how to fit the double mastectomy, the full chemotherapy, and potentially the radiation they were telling me to have into my already overwhelmed life. More importantly, these methods went against what I believed was right for my body. She talked about doing high doses of vitamin C, followed by hyperbaric chamber sessions, exercise, energy work, prayer, and diet changes, all while managing the stress of ending a 10-year relationship with the man I loved, my son's father. And then she talked about in January 20, what took place, that COVID hits, all these different things. And so again, she talks about all these things. She says, I did like cryolibation, an FDA-approved procedure that injects gas into the tumor to kill cancer cells by freezing them. I did genetically targeted fractionated chemotherapy. I also started acupuncture to help bring my red blood cells back up when chemo would drop them too low. I tried a cutting-edge drug that boosts the local immune system in the tumor. I even did apheresis, where they pulled my blood out pint by pint, cleaned it of toxins, filtered it, and put it back in my body. All these things were part of a layered approach. Cancer is attacking the body from a lot of different directions. To be truly effective, you have to attack it the same way. When I left Arizona in December, I had gone down from stage 3 to stage 2. The cancer was out of my lymph nodes, and the tumor significantly reduced. And so then she talks about, what this all meant, and in terms of, how it changed here. But the reality is those things simply did not work, Joe.
They did not. And the fact of the matter is that lump in her breast canceled everything out she was thinking about doing. I loved Ananda because when you pay attention to the talk show space, those of us that patterned ourselves after Arsenio Hall, we saw who got talk shows. We saw who was hosting shows. And of course, I watched Ananda from BET to MTV to her own show. And I'll tell you a personal story. When I was 16 years old, I started having blood discharges, and I didn't know why. And I was scared, and I didn't go to the doctor. And when I went to the doctor, I wasn't completely honest. And so it took me a year to finally get the colonoscopy based on my admitted symptoms. And I was diagnosed with ulcerative colitis. Look it up. A lot of people know about Crohn's disease. Crohn's is from the rooter to the tutor, as it were. The colon, when the colon itself is inflamed, it's ulcerative colitis. I've been having colonoscopy since I was 16 years old because I'm at higher risk for cancer. Fortunately, as they go, I've had a, quote, easier ride, never too severe medication.
I told you guys last week that.
And no surgeries. But that being said, there are so many men. Let me talk to the fellas now. We talk to the ladies quite a bit about breast cancer. Let me talk to the fellas about their manhood not letting them get their prostate checked, their manhood not letting them get a colonoscopy once they turn 45 or 50. Colon cancer, you are going to be able to resolve 90% of the time if you catch it early. Because of my reality is not, I don't want to go to colonoscopy, whether or not I'm going to go. My question is whether it's going to be propofol or whether it's going to be Demerol, because propofol is a much better drug and a lot easier. I ain't talking about it in a Michael Jackson kind of way, but it's very easy to recover from it. I have accepted that as my reality. My wife did her first colonoscopy this week because she's at the age for it, and fortunately everything was fine. But we gotta do the things that allow us to deal with preventative, right? All of the things that Ananda was talking about doing, we're doing, relieving stress and all this other stuff. All of that's fantastic. But once there's a lump in your breast, that doesn't mean that you don't test. That doesn't mean that you don't do the things that you need to do. And I'm not standing in judgment of her or anyone else, but I'm particularly talking to the men because a lot of times our manlyhood tells us not to do these things. I had an uncle who was very dear to me, my Uncle Rodney, the heart hurts me. He knew he was sick, but didn't want to get biopsy, didn't want to get tested. And by the time he finally got tested, he had cancer all over him. Sometimes we decide to do it the way that we want to do it, which I guess is fine and good and well, but you have family. You have people that love you. You have people that care about you. I don't stand in judgment of anyone, but what I would say is I want people to be encouraged to go and check the boxes that they need to check. Those of us that believe in heaven, we're not in any hurry to get there because we will be there eternally. So why cut it off? You know what I mean? Let's do the things that we can so that we can have the most quality of life we possibly can. Cut back on the ham hocks and the pork, right? Some of those types of things. But for whatever you do, if there's a lump, if there's something, if there's a problem, if there's a blood discharge, go get tested. I was 15 years old and it took me a year to go. So who is it that's out there that's not getting a test because they've told themselves that they couldn't? They told themselves that they wouldn't, or that they, if it's not one thing, it's another. Yeah, maybe so if you don't get tested when you know you have a symptom. Do what you need to do, man. Let's do what we can to live as long as we can. And particularly as it pertains to things that are potentially avoidable altogether, or maybe very, very curable when caught early. Let's do that work because we got people here that rely on us and care for us, and we got to care for each other.
Roland, can I say it this way?
Young son. Yeah.
Modern disease requires modern medicine. On this show, we talk about policy, we talk about environmental racism, we talk about how in Black communities across this country, there are higher rates of cancer because there are electric and utility transformers in our neighborhoods. We talk about how in South Memphis, Elon Musk, AI, and data center is housed there, and that increases the rates of cancer. We talk about in parts of Houston, we talk about in parts of Baton Rouge and New Orleans, in Fisherman's Paradise, where there is an increase of petrochemicals that leads to diseases. So we're seeing a lot of new diseases that our ancestors didn't have to deal with 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 years ago. And so while I understand going the holistic route for our everyday life to keep ourselves everyday healthy, but when we have these specific modern diseases that are caused by policies, that are caused by greed and corruption in this world, it's going to require modern medicine to fight back because our herbs can't catch up to what's happening when we're seeing a lot of these manufactured in, I won't say it that way, when we're seeing all these new diseases that are associated with modernity, with post-industrial, a post-industrial society. So that's just food for thought, because I see some people in the comments saying, hey, there's holistic routes. Yes, do that for everyday life. Do that for everyday stress management. Do that for the common cold. But it's time for us to, yes. But it is time for us now to have that understanding. For those of us who are of faith, Pray over your medicine. My mother, in particular, she died prematurely. Had there been more cultural competence around her health team, had she actually followed some of the protocol, I very much believe she would be alive today. Taking medication, going to the doctor is not a testament of your faith. Take the pill when you need to take that pill and you pray over it. But at the end
Pray
of the
over the
day,
pill and then take it. Faith without works is dead.
yes, but these modern diseases require modern medicine.
Talk within your family.
All right, folks. Gotta go to a break. We come back. More of what's happening in this country. Lots more to talk about. Second hour of the show. You're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. Back it on.
Next on the Black Table with me, Greg Carr. An hour of living history with Dr. Richard Mariba-Kelsey, thinker, builder, author, and one of the most important and impactful elders in the African American community. He reflects on his full and rich life and shares his incomparable wisdom about our past, present, and future.
African genius is saying that my uncle was a genius, my brother was a genius, my neighbor was a genius. I think we ought to drill that in ourselves and move ahead rather than believing that I got it.
That's next on the Black Table, here on the Black Star Network.
This week on the other side of change.
We are here talking about the unfortunate case of 30-year-old Adriana Smith, who was diagnosed and pronounced as brain dead at 9 weeks pregnant and is being kept alive by the state to carry this pregnancy out to full term without any input from her family. It's a really harrowing example of the lack of bodily autonomy we have in a post-war world, and we're going to dream bigger. Join us on the other side of change, only on the Black Star Network.
What's up, everybody? It's your girl, Latasha from the A.
And you're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered.
Folks, a New Jersey Congresswoman has been indicted by a federal grand jury as a result of a confrontation outside of an ICE detention facility last month in New Jersey. LaMonica McIver, who represents New Jersey, and two of the members of Congress, along with Newark Mayor Ras Baraka, they were visiting Delaney Hall to conduct federal oversight of the 10,000-bed detention center. During their visit, a scuffle with law enforcement took place, resulting in assault charges against McIver and Baraka's arrest for misdemeanor trespassing charges. Now, they dropped the charges against Baraka. New Jersey U.S. Attorney Alina Habba posted this on social media about McIver's indictment, saying today a federal grand jury seated in Newark, New Jersey, returned a 3-count indictment charging U.S. Representative LaMonica McIver with forcibly impeding and interfering with federal law enforcement officers. This indictment has a maximum penalty of 8 years for count 1, additional maximum penalty of 8 years for count 2, and a maximum penalty of 1 year in prison for count 3. As I've stated in the past, it is my constitutional obligation as a chief federal law enforcement officer for New Jersey to ensure that our federal partners are protected when executing their duties. While people are free to express their views for or against particular policies, they must not do so in a manner that endangers law enforcement and the communities those officers serve. Today's decision about the grand jury is the next step in a process that my office will pursue to a just end. Well, McIver released her own statement, and she said, the facts of this case will prove I was simply doing my job and will expose these proceedings for what they are, a brazen attempt at political intimidation. The indictment I no longer justified the original charges, and is an effort by Trump's administration to dodge accountability for the chaos ICE caused and scare me out of doing the work I was elected to do. But it won't work. I will not be intimidated. The faces are on my side. I will be entering a plea of not guilty. I'm grateful for the support of our community, and I look forward to a day in court. I mean, this is sheerly just pure silliness, Joe, on the part of Trump. But what they want to do is they want to intimidate a member of Congress from doing their oversight duty, and they've been blocking doors, shutting members out all across the country.
Yeah, take her, make an example out of her. They don't go after Barack, but they go after her instead. The other day, Maxine Waters was trying to get in and do oversight and see some of the people that had been detained. Door was closed in her face. And so I appreciate the stand that she's taking. She's just trying to do her job. See, you know, in the world where you get discretion or you get to decide, you're a prosecutor, you're an officer of the court, you have to decide what it is that's responsible to do in the name of protecting and doing right by the people in the job you have and the authority you've been invested. Nobody can stand back and say that morally or even legally that this community is going to be better off for this Congresswoman being prosecuted for a situation that she frankly didn't create at all. And there's no good that would actually come from it. And hopefully this allows people to become awakened, even all the more awakened about what it is that we're facing. The whole idea that the government would be weaponized in order to intimidate Congress people and people that are duly elected by people, directly elected by people, to do the business of the people. And that includes oversight in situations such as this. It's absolutely incensing, but it would be more incensing if people don't react to it, become more aware, and dare I say woke, so that we can go and continue to do the things that we need to do in terms of fighting back, in terms of letting folks know, letting the government, even our leaders of our government know that the weaponization of the government in the name of doing the business of the people is immoral, it's illegal, and it won't be tolerated.
Joy?
I mean, I think the facts here, when you see the video, when you see that she was trying to protect others, really, that she was there doing her elected duty, her sworn duty on behalf of the citizens of New Jersey. I think when you see that, you know, we're going to have a jury that is extremely empathetic towards her, seeing this as a political prosecution. So much of what Trump did was accuse himself of having a political prosecution. This is the definition, textbook of a political prosecution. This woman absolutely, because we can see it, is not fighting back. What she's trying to do is to protect herself from assault and harm in a melee, right? Where lots of things got thrown around and none of them were intentional, you know, but it was because, you know, this was a crisis that had been created by the officers, not by her. She was doing her job. And I think that she's going to get more donations because of this. She's going to get more political, not notoriety, but fame because of this. She's going to have an elevated platform because of this, and this will work in her favor. Fact of the matter is, right now, there's almost no bad, like being in jail is the sign of you doing something right. She was in the way, and that's why she got targeted here. And we need to be in the way. She will be rewarded for this.
Rebecca?
Look, I think this whole thing is disgusting. They want to create a chilling effect. Like I talked about earlier, how far is this president willing to go? If they are now jailing or imprisoning, if they are charging, they're indicting members of Congress, then what does that mean for ordinary, everyday people who aren't a member of Congress? So at this point, the American people are going to have to figure out, okay, so what do we do? For some folks, I need our white counterparts to use their white privilege, and they need to be the ones on the front line and show up and use their white privilege. Because I'll be very curious if the Trump administration is willing to jail thousands of white people. I kind of think he's not willing to do that. But Black people have been in this fight. We are tired, but we're still willing to fight. But I need more white people to show up at the front lines. They keep saying, oh, Black people, y'all have been sitting on the sidelines since November. Not really. I think some of us have been resting, but white people need to be at the front lines of this fight.
Mm-hmm. All right.
I mean, I would say white members in particular.
I agree with that. But the question is, but the real question is whether they're going to step up and see this as being their issue. Going to a quick break. We'll be right back. Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network.
This week on A Balanced Life, we're talking about single father parenting. You've got it. Faith, family, and fatherhood. What does it mean to be a single parent father, spending time with your kid, whether it's a son or a daughter? Whether you ask for it, plan for it, or by tragedy or accident, you step into the role.
I didn't take it as a woe is me moment or like, what am I going to do? It's like, matter of fact, I looked at it, I rolled up my sleeves and I said, hey, whatever it takes.
That's all this week on A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie here on Black Star Network.
This week on the other side of change.
We are here talking about the unfortunate case of 30-year-old Adriana Smith, who was diagnosed and pronounced as brain dead at 9 weeks pregnant and is being kept alive by the state to carry this pregnancy out to full term without any input from her family. It's a really harrowing example of the lack of bodily autonomy we have in a post-Roe world, and we're going to dream bigger. Join us on the other side of change, only on the Black Star Network.
We begin tonight with the people who are really running the country right now. Now, Trump is often wrong and misleading about a lot of things, but especially about history. Donald Trump falling in line with President Elon Musk.
In the wake of the unsettling news that MSNBC has canceled Joy Ann Reid's primetime show, The Readout, Roland Martin and the Black Star Network would like to extend an invitation to all of the fans of Joy Ann Reid's MSNBC show to join us every night to watch Roland Martin Unfiltered, streaming on the Black Star Network for news, discussion of the issues that matter to you, and the latest updates on the twice-impeached, criminally convicted felon-in-chief Donald Trump and his unprecedented assault on democracy, as well as co-president Elon Musk's takeover of the federal government. The Black Star Network stands with Joy Ann Reid and all folks who understand the power of Black voices in media. We must come together and never forget that information is power. Be sure to watch Roland Martin Unfiltered weeknights, 6 p.m. Eastern at youtube.com/Roland S. Martin or download the Black Star Network app.
Next on the Black Table with me, Greg Carr. An hour of living history with Dr. Richard Mariba Kelsey, thinker, builder, author, and one of the most important and impactful elders in the African American community. He reflects on his full and rich life and shares his incomparable wisdom about our past, present, and future.
African genius is saying that my uncle was a genius, my brother was a genius, my neighbor was a genius. I think we ought to drill that in ourselves and move ahead rather than believing that I got it.
That's next on the Black Table, here on the Black Star Network.
My name is Lena Charles, and I'm from Opelousas, Louisiana. Yes, that is Zydeco capital of the world.
My name is Margaret Chappelle. I'm from Dallas, Texas, representing the Urban Trivia Game.
It's me, Sherry Shepherd, and you know what you watch.
Roland Martin on Unfiltered.
Senator Chuck Schumer, House Leader Hakeem Jeffries joined forces today in a joint news conference condemning the Republicans' what they call GOP scam bill. Here's what Jeffries had to say.
It's an honor and privilege to be joined today by Leader Chuck Schumer. We've been working closely with Leader Schumer and Senate Democrats in a unified way to stop the Republicans' one big ugly bill from ever becoming law. Later on today on the House floor, Republicans will have an opportunity to stop the GOP tax scam and address the concerns that have been raised by dozens of House Republicans with respect to the damage that the one big ugly bill will do to everyday Americans. The GOP tax scam represents the largest assault on health care in American history. More than 16 million Americans will lose access to health care in the United States of America as a result of the one big ugly bill. Hospitals will close, nursing homes will shut down, and people will die because they'll lose access to the medical care that they need. Tens of millions of additional Americans will pay higher premiums, co-pays, and deductibles. There are more than a dozen House Republicans who have indicated that they don't support cutting Medicaid for the people that they represent. Those House Republicans have a chance to stop this bill from even being sent over to the United States Senate by voting no on the rule today. Other House Republicans have indicated that they don't support the cuts to the clean energy tax credits that have generated jobs and economic opportunity in their communities. Yet somehow, mysteriously, they voted for the one big ugly bill a few weeks ago, but now these House Republicans have the ability to stop the GOP tax scam from being sent over to the United States Senate. It's strange to me that you have Republicans who voted for a bill that they apparently dislike and then publicly sent a letter to their Senate Republican colleagues to say, stop these provisions from ever becoming law. I mean, that's the height of irresponsibility. Vote yes and then hope for the best. No, you have a job to do in the House of Representatives. And now you have a second chance to actually stop this one big ugly bill and the provisions that you disagree with, whether that's the cuts to Medicaid or the cuts to clean energy tax credits or the prohibition against regulating artificial intelligence across all 50 states, or the aggressive overreach that many Republicans have complained about in terms of trying to strip away the ability of federal courts to issue contempt orders against an out-of-control executive branch. Every single one of those Republicans, dozens of them, now have an opportunity to actually act responsibly, vote no against the rule that will be on the floor of the House, and stop the GOP tax scam from even going over to the United States Senate. I'm thankful again for the leadership and presence of Chuck Schumer. It's now my honor to yield to him.
Thank you. It's great to be back here in the House, and I want to thank Hakeem for the great job he has done and constantly does against this big, ugly bill. Now, as Republican Congress members went home after voting for the bill, they got a huge amount of flack because the more the public knows about this bill, the less they like it. And so many of them said, well, I didn't like that part. I didn't like this part. I didn't even read the bill, some of them say. Well, now is their opportunity to make the changes that they told their constituencies that they don't like in the bill. The bottom line is, what is a Congress member's core power embodied in the Constitution? The power to vote. And they ought to exercise that power to vote this afternoon, because it's a unique opportunity to change this bill. If it's because they didn't technically provide the right bill to pass the Senate, it has to be sent back to the House. And if even a handful of Republicans vote no this afternoon on the rule, they will have that opportunity. They will have the opportunity to change the vicious cuts on Medicaid that hurt so many, that will close rural hospitals in many of their districts. They have the opportunity to restore the tax credits on clean energy, because if they don't, it's going to affect their districts. At least in the Senate, 70%, 75% of the clean energy projects are in Republican states. And I imagine it's not that dissimilar in terms of districts. If they want to stop the vicious cuts to SNAP, if they want to prevent the billionaires from getting tax credits, whatever they went home and told people they didn't like, and a few of them said they didn't even read the bill, and many of them whispered to each other, we didn't know this was in the bill, particularly on the energy tax credits, which was done at the dark of night because Chip Roy and his right-wing Texans just have a religious hatred of clean energy. So now's the time. This is a golden opportunity. If they really mean what they say and they want to change the bill, this is their golden opportunity. Don't throw the key away. Don't shrug your shoulders a second time and say, well, there were things I liked in the bill and didn't like. This is the chance to change it. And I say, and we say, to every Republican Congress member, this vote shows if you're real when you said you want to scale back clean energy, when you said you don't like the Medicaid cuts, when you said the SNAP cuts are too deep, when you said the court's powers of contempt should not be taken away. If you're real about it, if you're not just BSing your constituents, vote no, and then you have an opportunity to change the bill.
Rebecca, do you believe that how this presentation resonates? Is there a different way that Democrats should be highlighting the crazy, nonsensical, outlandish things in this bill?
Yes. I mean, no one's really going to be moved by anything that Chuck Schumer says at this point, right? That's not compelling TV. It's not compelling news. They have to take this fight out to the public. They need to show up in districts and they need to go through and list, this is the community hospital that will be shut down if this bill passes. They need to go line by line, like show up to Tennessee. As much as Marsha Blackburn always used to talk about, how all the great things that TennCare is doing, talk about how TennCare is going to be undermined, it's going to be decimated. And I think it's over half of kids in Tennessee use TennCare, aka Tennessee's Medicaid. Talk about it, call it out. But just like whatever it is that the minority leader was trying to do, to me, that's not effective. Like, I'm going to be honest, even listening to Chuck Schumer, I kind of tuned out what he said. Like, I heard him talking, but then I didn't even really focus. And I'm someone who is locked in to these public policy issues. Democrats have to figure out what its soul is as a party, right? The reason why a lot of Americans are saying that they don't see a big difference between Republicans and Democrats, it's not just the policy issues of whether or not you're for Trump or it's against Trump. It's even how they talk about it. It's the framework, because at the end of the day, I think Chuck Schumer is more concerned about some of the corporate interests that may back him than actual delivering good policy for the American people in meaningful ways that the American people can easily digest. Like this wasn't it. It didn't even capture me.
Joe?
The thing that's good about Republicans is that they talk in third grade language. And we got to get better at speaking to people in a way that meets them where they are. Now, we can have this whole discussion, oh my God, we shouldn't have to talk, that low, be that simple. No, you can speak in complete sentences, not undermine anybody's intelligence, and talk in a way that's revelatory for people that know a little bit more, that are a little bit further along. Somehow, some way, the travesty here is that people don't seem to understand that Democrats actually, most programs that they come to rely on, most things that they have in their lives that are any good for working class people came from Democrats, almost always. And we typically are the ones on the right side of that. So how do we translate that to people? And this is an example, this big, beautiful bill that they're actually giving you something that's doo-doo and telling you that it's ice cream. They're saying, oh no, we're not cutting Medicaid. We're just changing the requirements so that we kill waste. No, you're cutting Medicaid. You're cutting it, okay? You are cutting it. How do we make sure that we get that to people in precise language so that they stop voting against their own interests? That's the big challenge, because we look, I don't know if we look too much like them or we look too different from them or whatever it is. I don't even know if I have it figured out, but we've got to speak in precise, everyday language. We can have a discussion some other time. I had a discussion with Pete Aguilar about this. Like, is Schumer still the guy? I mean, it's an open question as to whether, I mean, he still seems to be the guy, but there's an open question as to whether he ought to be. And so we have to talk about this and make sure we break this down to people in a way that they can understand and give them something that they can get behind so that there's less smoke and mirrors, and so that what is being portrayed is truly the reality, that we are the good guys as it pertains to a policy standpoint, and that should really be coming across.
Joy.
All right, look, all that is fine, but this is about legislative time. This is legislation. We need groups who are on the ground. It's great that they are protesting. That's wonderful. But we need them to pick up the phone, get on their email, and write their members. If they are a member, a citizen in that district, they need to call their member of Congress, especially the Republicans, but also the Democrats. If you want to help Chuck Schumer, if you want to help Hakeem Jeffries, you have to give incentive to the members of Congress that they are trying to appeal to. I agree. It looks pretty feckless. I agree that, we can ask questions about, do we have the right leadership for this time? That is not what is of issue right now. What we need are enough people calling. I've been a Senate Chief of Staff. What we care about is how many people thought enough of this issue to call in and to make their voices known. That's how they're measuring it. How many people are concerned about rural hospitals closing? How many people are concerned about the fact that work requirements, we already know this from when they've been implemented in other states, actually cost more than they save and kick people off the rolls. They do not do what you might think they do. How many people know that people will be kicked off Medicaid, that it will be more difficult for women to get the maternal health that they need? How many people know that? That's our focus, along with all of the other problems in the bill that are not healthcare related. This bill kills people, and it does it so that it can give tax breaks to the wealthiest Americans, to an oligarchy that is undermining our democracy. Those are the basic facts. But you got to get on the phone. You have to do that. If you're not doing that, you aren't doing shit, and I don't want to hear about it.
Right. All right, folks, hold tight 1 second. We come back. We're going to talk about a program, a stem cell AI program out of Georgia, being greatly impacted by cuts in federal aid. You're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network.
This week on A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie, we're talking faith, family, fatherhood, and the pathway to reentry. Most of us, in some way, shape, form, or fashion, have had someone in our lives, whether it was a grandfather, a father, an uncle, a brother, or a cousin, who has been incarcerated or justice impacted. What does that look like in rebuilding family and relationships? What does it look like for us to be able to have substantive conversations, come to the table, love on each other, while at the same time get it all out in the open so that we can begin a new journey together?
The last thing you want is, in the midst of trying to piece your life back together, for home to not be a comfortable place.
That's all next on A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie here on Black Star Network.
On the next Get Wealthy with me, Deborah Owens, have you ever had $1 million idea and wondered how to bring it to life? Well, it's all about turning problems into opportunities. On our next Get Wealthy, you'll learn of a woman who identified the overload bag syndrome, and now she's taking that money to the bank through global sales in major department stores.
And I was just struggling with 2 or 3 bags on the train. And I looked around on the train and I said, you know what? There are a lot of women that are carrying two or 3 bags.
That's right here on Get Wealthy, only on Black Star Network.
This week on the other side of change.
We are here talking about the unfortunate case of 30-year-old Adriana Smith, who was diagnosed and pronounced as brain dead at 9 weeks pregnant and is being kept alive by the state to carry this pregnancy out to full term without any input from her family. It's a really harrowing example of the lack of bodily autonomy we have in a post-Roe world, and we're going to dream bigger. Join us on the other side of change, only on the Black Star Network.
Next on the Black Table with me, Greg Carr. An hour of living history with Dr. Richard Mariba-Kelsey, thinker, builder, author, and one of the most important and impactful elders in the African American community. He reflects on his full and rich life and shares his incomparable wisdom about our past, present, and future.
African genius is saying that my uncle was a genius, my brother was a genius, my neighbor was a genius. I think we ought to drill that in ourselves and move ahead rather than believing that I got it.
That's next on the Black Table, here on the Black Star Network.
Hello, we're the Critter Fixers. I'm Dr. Bernard Hodges.
And I'm Dr. Terrence Ferguson.
And you're tuned in to
Roland Martin Unfiltered.
Everybody keeps talking about artificial intelligence and how we need to know how these things work. But the question is, where do you go to actually learn this stuff? Well, in Georgia, they have an initiative to teach young folks and their parents with regards to AI. But one of the issues they were facing, resources. Cuts to federal grants has impacted a program in Georgia. Joining us now is Valerie Mackey, the CEO of Right Now Solutions, Cassandra Curry, the director of Westside Works Career Rise. Glad to have both of you here. Valerie, first, tell us, what is this program? Who are you helping?
Sure. This program is to help upskill folks in the community of Atlanta that would like to have a technology careers. It was specialized in artificial intelligence because it is in high demand. Employers need it all the time. So there's an 8-week boot camp, so to speak, where we have people come in, they learn more AI tools. It's not just one tool. So we like to look at it as vendor agnostic. So they learn several different types within Microsoft, Google, IBM, all the tools that makes them very marketable in this field. And for this particular program, is for our youth. It's for 18 to 24. We have some programs focused on everyone. This particular program, we wanted to focus on our youth, the ones that may or may not have gone to college, to give them an opportunity to start their careers.
And hello.
So Cassandra, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry. I jumped ahead there. Go ahead.
Nope. So let's talk about this program. First of all, how long has this been going on? How many students have you helped?
Yes.
Okay, so this particular program I'm sorry, Cassandra, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Cassandra, go ahead.
Okay, so I'm Cassandra, and I am grateful to be here, first of all. But I work for an organization called Career Rise, and we are an intermediary here in Atlanta that really work with a number of organizations, resources, workforce providers, and employers, all for the purpose of helping job seekers get access to training programs and employment that help them with their economic mobility. And so what I do is I oversee operations at Westside Works, which is a Westside resource center that have a number of different phenomenal career support service resources and training programs. And Valerie and her team are one of those providers that support us with that training, train to place model. And so that AI program was implemented really because we know that technology is ever changing, and we have to do all that we can to help our young people and all job seekers maintain relevance to the current day market and the needs and the shifts in the in our workforce. And so this training program is the very first implementation at Westside Works for this year, and it's focused on youth and engaging them in opportunities and pipeline opportunities to go into technology career pathways. So while it's the first time that we're doing this, we have a pretty we have a youth program initiative that focuses on multiple different tracks, and there's about 80 youth that we've engaged through those various tracks, but I think we have just about a little under 25 that have started this particular program with Val.
And I just want to add, over time, we have trained approximately 2,000 people in various areas, including cloud engineering, web, project management tools, Salesforce, ServiceNow, all these tools. Westside Works has also been in business for a very long, quite a while now, and they've had, I don't know, a couple of thousand go through various programs, but the artificial intelligence program being hot and heavy new, employers said they needed a new one, and so this is what we're giving them.
All right, so obviously these programs cost money. Cassandra, we've had a lot of cuts take place coming out of the federal government, and so how these cuts impacted this program, and how much money do you need to fund this program, and what is the plan of action to raise that?
Yeah, so I will say that, we have had a lot of shifts, as you mentioned, in government funding and just funding in general across all of the different pathways that typical nonprofits access funding, whether it's through philanthropic organizations, private funders and sponsors, because when the government shifts occurred, a lot of those funding sources really hunkered down to support their anchor partners and organizations. And so you didn't see a lot of fruitful offerings to new partnerships flourishing as of now. So we really have considered it particularly a slowdown in funding opportunities that we typically would anticipate to support operations for nonprofits, specifically our workforce efforts at Westside Works. So our partnership with Right Now Solutions and this particular AI program, CareerWise, we're a funders collaborative, and one of our larger funding sources is the Arthur and Blank Foundation, which proudly supported the initial grant that supported with the implementation of this program. However, really helping this program see its way through to the end really requires multiple diverse funding sources to really support, to fill in those gaps. So we currently, Val can share a little bit more about what that particular gap is for this particular program, but across all of our program pathways, we're still seeing about $1 million in a funding gap. One of our largest funding opportunities that was going to be through a government particular program was about a $1.2 million gift that we were hoping to receive, and that funding was rescinded. It was offered and then it was rescinded. So we are quickly, putting our boots on the ground and hoping to hunker down with getting support and leveraging other resources to continue these programs that we're offering to youth and all of the job seekers across Metro Atlanta.
So, Valerie, how are you reaching out to the public for them to support this funding shortfall?
So we have some employer partners that we have talked to. We have individual funders, as she mentioned. We have a shortfall. So essentially, these programs are free to the participants. We do not want to charge the people in the community. We agreed that these programs would be free to the participants, but this particular program is about $8,000 per person to have this expertise and give them everything they need, the tools, the access to the tools they need to learn, their certification, and so forth. Also, I want to mention as a part of this program, it's a holistic program. We think about this from a family perspective. So we also have programs for parents. We mentioned this is for 18 to 24, but there are adults that are trying to help their children decide where they want to go in their career. That got us to this point. So we have programs for parents. That also costs money. We're doing things with the parents, like helping them not on the level of becoming AI consultants, but rather how do they utilize AI in their everyday life? How do they utilize the AI to create healthy recipes for their family? How do they use AI to send emails to the superintendent or the principal if their child needs help at school, to make sure that they're heard in the school system if they have younger children? And bringing us to the younger children, we have pop-up programs for them around career discovery. Like, what does it take to be a civil engineer? What does it take to be a technologist? What does it take to be a media company? What does it take to have those careers they may not think of? So this program is not just for artificial intelligence in this cohort. We talk about this one the most because it is actually the most expensive one to run. It's the most comprehensive. But we didn't forget about the younger students that may be in high school trying to figure out what their next step is, nor do we forget about the parents that we need to help them decide how they can help their kids and giving them the support systems that they need. How do they have cybersecurity in their home? Different programs like that. All in all, these programs cost $327,000 to run. We have garnered $100,000 already. So we started with some funding. We mentioned Westside Works already had a program, and they work with several vendors. Right Now Solutions is one of them. Right Now Solutions offers the programs that I just mentioned, but they have other programs that they run too. So the Arthur Blanks Foundation has started us on our way last year. We planned this last year. We started last year. We kind of knew we would be coming into this funding this year. We anticipated the funding this year. But unfortunately, after planning and after all of the things we did, that funding, like she said, was rescinded in May. We actually got, most people got their letters May 9th that the funding was going to be rescinded. So we had to figure out other ways. And so we're asking people, hey, it costs $8,000 per student. Can you change a life? Can you do $8,000 to change a life? One scholarship is $8,000. And then we have sponsorship opportunities where if you can do 5 scholarships, we will list you as a sponsor, as helping. So the community can see your company actually making that huge impact, but individuals can make that huge impact too. So we're reaching out to our employer partners, we're reaching out to our corporations, we're reaching out to individuals to see how they would like to help change a life.
So if a person out there wants to help, where do they go?
So we have a donation page. Go.
No, we definitely have a donation page. Thank you, Valerie. On our Career Rise site, you can visit www.careerriseatlanta.org, donate now, today. And we also have a specific donation site that we can share with you and post on our social. We have it posted on our social media pages as well.
What is the site?
So careerriseatlanta.org is our website, and there's a link there to the donation button. Yes, there's a link on our website to the button.
And if
so it's CareerWise Atlanta. One second. Hold on 1 second. 1 second. You said careerwiseatlanta.org?
Yes, careerriseatlanta.org. And there's a place on our a button that says donate. And also we have partnered
Hold on 1 second. Hold on 1 second.
Okay.
Control room, can y'all pull that website up? Control room, can y'all pull that website up, please? Okay, because I want to be so folks can actually see it. So CareerWise Atlanta .org.
Yes. And Atlanta is spelled all the way out. So career, CareerRiseAtlanta.org.
All right, so folks, this is the page. Again, there's a donate button there, donate button there. So if you want to support the initiative, please do so. And so again, go to careerwiseatlanta.org and careerrise.atlanta.org. So folks, check that out. And again, when we're talking about again, these AI programs is one thing to say what we need, but again, it's a different thing when you actually have to learn how to do these things. And so again, pull up again, folks. So you go to careerrise.org, then you go careerwiseatlanta.org, then you'll see the donate button where all the folks watching can assist. All right, we certainly appreciate it. Thanks so much and good luck.
Thank you. We really appreciate the time you gave us here and appreciate the opportunity. Thank you so much, Roland.
Yes.
Folks, we'll be right back. Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network.
This week on A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie, we're talking faith, family, fatherhood, and the pathway to reentry. Most of us, in some way, shape, form, or fashion, have had someone in our lives, whether it was a grandfather, a father, an uncle, a brother, or a cousin, who has been incarcerated or justice impacted. What does that look like in rebuilding family and relationships? What does it look like for us to be able to have substantive conversations, come to the table, love on each other, while at the same time get it all out in the open so that we can begin a new journey together?
You know, the last thing you want is, in the midst of trying to piece your life back together, for home to not be a comfortable place.
That's all next on A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie here on Black Star Network.
Hello, we're the Critter Fixers. I'm Dr. Bernard Hodges.
And I'm Dr. Terrence Ferguson.
And you're tuned in to
Roland Martin Unfiltered.
All right, folks, welcome back to the show. Now, you know, when these things happen, you know, we try to have some care and compassion for people who are being impacted by these ICE raids and what Trump is doing. But if you are a Latino for Trump, I literally don't care what happens to you. I'm just going to go ahead and say it. I don't. Sorry. But remember the viral video and brother was like, it's above me now. That's really the position that I'm taking. I have zero compassion, zero concern, zero empathy for anybody who was a Latino for Trump supporter and your ass now in trouble. Here's what I mean. Have y'all seen this story? Cuban activist Hector Luis Valdez Cocho, he founded Latinos for Trump and he rallied voters for Trump in Florida. His ass is now sitting in the ICE detention facility and likely is going to get deported back to Cuba. Now, Florida Senator Elena Garcia, also Latinos for Trump, blasting these roundups is intolerable, inhumane, and wrong, and this is not fair. Rebecca, all I have for them are thoughts and prayers.
Thoughts, prayers, salutations. I mean, you hate to see it, but not really. I mean, like, what are we doing here? You know, this is so bizarre for people to think, oh, it's going to be everybody else but me. They supported a strong man, and now they're understanding what is a strong man, and it's not Hector.
Joe, I can't. I mean, I'm trying right now be Christ-like.
Oh, Jesus was petty.
But I'm not.
It's not like Jesus wasn't petty. Didn't Jesus turn some behind at the church?
Hashtag we tried to tell you, Joe. Joe, I've got nothing for him. I just don't. Sorry.
Here's where I split it up. I'm still a Christian guy and try to be Christ-like. I come up short all the time, and I'll tell people when I do. And that being said, do I have some compassion for the families of people, the families that are connected to stupid people that make stupid decisions? Yeah, on some level. That being said, that doesn't mean that I get to save you from every consequence, right? You know, I really got free. Let's talk about being free and what freedom really means. Freedom really means that you can't always save people from their stupidity. That's what that means. So listen, I'm gonna try to help. You know, I'm suing people. I'm already, you know, getting calls about, you know, people in different situations or whatever else, even though I'm not really an immigration guy. But on some level, in my world, we have to prioritize. Not only talking about legal world, just in social, you know, your social circles or whatever else. You have to prioritize people that did what they could to help themselves. People make mistakes all the time, but this right here is walking into the street when you know that a car is coming, and you think that somehow you're going to evade it, like you're going to walk through it or something, like this is Ghost, you the Ghost Whisperer or something. No, this was going to happen. You could see that this was going to happen. And so therefore, what that means is that in the prioritization of my responsibilities and my priorities, I don't trip as much as I would. Now, I still, you know, am concerned about some of the larger constitutional implications, doing things without due process, et cetera, and we'll be there on that front. That being said, there's 24 hours in a day. I need about 8 of it to sleep, and I'm going to. And I'm not as sympathetic as I could be for those that saw something coming or knew or should have known, as we say in the law, and still voted for him anyway. And hey, that's where I need help. Pray for me.
I want to associate myself with Joe. Joe, you speak for me. I struggle here. I want to be empathetic, and I am. But they made a huge mistake.
I just want y'all to know this is my position with Hector.
You just can't always keep it.
I'm just letting y'all know. Matter of fact, if I could get my eye mask, this is me with Hector. If my 2 phones were ringing and Hector was calling, it'd be on do not disturb.
Right.
Go ahead, Joey. I'm sorry. Go ahead. I just don't.
Right.
Go on.
It's not just Hector. There's some Haitians in Florida who made a bad choice as well, and we see what's happening to them. There are some people who felt like we're different from African Americans, and then whatever, and they went a different way. Everybody effed around, and they're going to find out. And while I certainly am going to help where I can, I'm going to start with African Americans first with, I just have to because resources are limited. Resources are limited. And like Joe, like Rebecca, I gotta focus where my energies are both respected and welcomed and deserved. But anything that might spill out to the rest of us, we have to prioritize that. So to the extent that's true, absolutely. And let me just say to all protesters, no matter where you are, and I know this is controversial, but your goal is to convince Americans to be with you. Fly the American flag at your protests. Don't fly the Mexican flag. Make sure that you are, unfortunately, you're going to have to look at what we did.
Oh, hell no, damn that, Joy. No, hell no, Joy. If them punk asses flew the Confederate flag and the Trump flag on January 6th, hell, fly your Mexican flag, fly your Venezuelan flag, fly your Costa Rican flag, damn them. No, I have no interest in appeasing these punk asses. If you are Haitian, fly your Haitian flag. If you are from Bermuda, fly your Bermudan flag. If you are from Sudan, if you are from Chad, if you are from the Congo, if you are from Sierra Leone, you from any of these countries, fly your flag. Because guess what? Them goddamn Irish folks fly their flag. We don't say shit on St. Patrick's Day. No, hell no. I'm not appeasing these racists. I ain't appeasing these damn racists. I don't care. I ain't appeasing. Listen, they don't even like the Puerto Rican. They don't even like. See, no. See, y'all talking about optics. They don't give a damn. Let me tell you something. Let me tell you something. Every protester could be dripped in American hat, shirt, T-shirt, underwear, socks, shoes, jeans, and they will still deport their ass. That don't mean a damn. Listen, these fools are sending back No, you ain't. No, let me tell you something right now. You can't convince them. See, Joy, that's what I'm trying to get you. This say damn respectability politics. You cannot convince them because they don't care. They are sending back Afghans who helped us win in Afghanistan. They don't care. That's what we got to understand. Donald Trump and MAGA doesn't care. They don't care.
Trump and MAGA. You're not trying to convince Trump and MAGA.
No.
You're trying to make
okay, well, who are you trying to convince?
They are. You're trying to convince.
They already monsters.
Of Americans who
they rated
support these races.
Joy, they rated an elementary school graduation. They rated an elementary school graduation. That's what they are. They already monsters.
They are, but we want Americans, some of whom are Democrats, some of whom are moderates, who don't support much of the way that these are being carried out, but who support the sentiment. They believe that if you are here illegally, you should not be here. I was just in a studio on Monday, and someone was telling me this, who supports our cause, who supports immigrants, but who feels like they shouldn't be here. Guys, this is a real sentiment. We got to stop believing that everyone feels the way that we do. They don't.
No. Let me be real clear. I understand sentiment. I understand sentiment. I'm real clear listen, I got a whole book on this. It's called White Fear. I understand sentiment. Okay? So this ain't got a damn thing to do with the sentiment. What I'm trying to explain to you is I don't care if every single person in Los Angeles, Chicago, Detroit, Houston, Philadelphia, where protests are taking place, if every single one of them was waving an American flag if they were sitting singing God Bless America and America the Beautiful and the Star Spangled Banner, do you know what the MAGA Republicans gonna say? Send their asses back.
You're right. I'm not talking.
That's what they're gonna say. So I'm not tripping.
And our family members who are looking at them and saying, you know what, I really hate what I'm seeing, but we want to help them remove the but by making sure we are bringing people along with us and that we are saying what's happening here is inhumane and this is wrong. And no matter how you feel about whether people should.
Joy, it don't matter. Joy, they firing bullets. Joy, they're firing rubber bullets at journalists. They don't give a shit. They don't care.
It's not them.
I'm telling you, right? These people
will never convince MAGA. It's
well, guess what? Okay, well, hold up. Okay, so what you're saying is moderates are going, you know what? I would be on the same page with you if only they weren't flying those Mexican flags. Hell no, they ain't saying that.
No, but I do think what it says is that you want to be here. And so how do we create an image? This is a TV show. We've said that a couple of times. You have got to create a TV show that appeals to the people watching and the audience. And if you don't believe that, then keep doing what you're doing. But I think that they're going to have to.
I'm confused.
What we did in the rights movement, what we did. Otherwise, you have to be strategic and you have to know your audience. And what we are trying to do.
So no. We know the audience. We
differently in the midterms.
Okay, so I'm confused. Well, this is where I'm confused then, Rebecca, because these same folk go to Mexican restaurants. These same folk love them some salsa when they get chips, salsa, and guacamole when they go to restaurants. These same folk love dancing the salsa music. These same folk love them some Gloria Estefan. They love, the point I'm making here is there is nothing that you can do. You cannot put a suit on, put a tie on. You can't be quiet. You can't be, it doesn't matter. Where we are right now, these white folks are saying, we want all y'all gone. I have played that clip from the Under Shepherd. When the Matt Damon character says, when Joe Pesci said, we Italians got this, the Jews got this, the black folks, he didn't say black, he said the N-word, they got this, the Irish got the homeland. He said, what do you people have? And Matt Damon said, we got the United States of America. The rest of you are just visiting. That's just so you can't, there's nothing you can't do. Go ahead.
So I'm listening to Joy's argument, and yes, Joy, I saw those talking points too. So tonight I'm in Montgomery, Alabama. I'm not too far, it's less than an hour away where the Pettus Bridge is. If John Lewis had the flag draped around him, rather than his church clothes and his church hard-bottom shoes going across that bridge, the outcome would have been the same. The dog still would have been sick.
Would have got his ass whooped. Would have got his ass whooped and would have wiped the blood in the American flag.
But one thing that was interesting is that when we saw the fights and we saw Bull O'Connor sick the dogs across Alabama, one thing that we noticed is that when it played on the nightly news, it was an effort to appeal to those white folks in the North. So they really understood that this is America. This is what's happening in America. Now, where I disagree with you, Joy, here is that it's not the Democrats or the moderates that I think this has to play out for as we go into the 2026 elections, but it's for those who opted not to vote. is for those who decided they weren't going to be a part of the political process in 2024. So as they're seeing these American cities, they're seeing that the National Guard, against the will of the governor, is being called up by the president and is taking over American streets. Those are the types of folks that we need to get activated and for them to say, you know what, this is not okay. I'm actually going to use my voice here and I'm going to register my vote. And I'm actually going to vote here. It's not the moderate Democrats, because if you're a moderate Democrat and you're watching this and you go into the 2026 election cycle saying, you know, Democratic Party really hasn't convinced me that there's something wrong that's going on, then that's a whole different thing. But for those who have opted to not vote, not be a part of the electoral political process, it's those people that I think this is going to play out towards, and it's those people who I think are going to vote against the current regime in 2026.
Joe, you want to weigh in?
Yeah, I mean, I'll briefly say, to kind of sum it all up, I think you do have to leave, if you can, an olive branch as it pertains to the potential for convincing some people, whether it's the moderates and Democrats, whether it's the people that aren't voting. You really have to still make that presentation, even though we have reason, it would seem, for us to be pessimistic about that. Because I think that if people vote the way that they're supposed to, and that's who I'd lean toward, people that aren't voting, these elections won't be close. And so we really have to do that the best way we can.
Joy, so here's the thing for me. It's a whole bunch of these Latinos down in South Texas along the border flying their Mexican flags, but they standing with Trump. So again, and I've seen the arguments. Look at them. Look at them. How dare they fly their flags? The reason I take the issue with this is because in this country, that's literally how white folks have been. You don't like it, go back to where you came from. Well, for us, that was the United States. That's how they operate. But them same white folks don't never take their ass back to Germany or Europe. So again, I get what people say, you know, I just wish they would just fly the American flag. I guarantee you right now, if they all flew the American flag, them same folk, they're not going to change their sentiment. They're not. They're going to find some other damn excuse. Look at how they're dressed. Oh, my God, look how loud they are. Oh, my goodness, why must they block traffic? They just going to skip to the next thing. This is just one in the litany of things that they want to whine and complain about. Go ahead.
You're probably right. We're talking about everything that you can do to make sure that when the narrative is being created, you are making the other side look worse than you are. And I think Donald Trump is doing a great job at that. There's going to have to be more. Guys, look at your polling. The American people are not where we think they are on it. I hope it changes. I hope that if you do care about this issue, that you are calling into your member of Congress. Really, that's the only thing that matters. It's actually not what we see on TV and not what we see on the streets. You actually have to call in. If you care about these issues, you don't like what you see, you got to hit up your White House switchboard. You got to hit up your member of Congress switchboard. They have to believe this is going to cost them something. You have to be at the town halls, et cetera. That's the only thing that matters. That said, if you are a protester, I do think you have to be careful and strategic about the way you are being presented. And that is especially true. I'm glad that Rebecca brought up Bloody Sunday. One of the reasons we were successful is that America saw what happened there and they responded because it was so terrible. They wouldn't. So part of that, and we saw protesters who were nonviolent who were attacked. That was strategic in and of itself. So, you know, Martin Luther King and everyone there, they were strategic. These protesters, I encourage them to be strategic as well. That's all I'm saying.
But there's a difference between There's a huge difference between folk trying to get the right to vote and dressing up, being presentable, being nice, and you dealing with Jim Crow folk in the South. It's a difference between that and then you a parent and you at an elementary school graduation and ICE rolls in and parents flee, leaving crying kids at an elementary school graduation. It's a difference when so-called ICE agents in mask, showing no IDs, roll up to schools saying, oh, the parents have given us permission to do a wellness check on their children. And the parents have given us permission to take their kids out of school. Straight as lying to the principal. The principal won't let them in. Then what happens is ICE people say, yeah, they with us, but they not really ICE agents.
Right.
So what's going on here? When these folks, when there are people, hold up. When there are people who are following the legal process and are showing up for appointments and are being snatched on their way to their appointment. They're following the legal process. When you got racists like Christopher Rufo, who literally posted this on his Substack. This is why the flag don't mean nothing. Christopher Rufo posted this. I read this yesterday, and I need to read it right now. This is the same white conservative who led the whole CRT and anti-woke, anti-DEI. He said, at the same time as we saw demonstrated in Portland, Oregon, during the George Floyd riots, the agencies should dispatch unmarked vans to follow key agitators and, quote, and this is what he says, and snatch them from the streets, bring all the panel up, and snatch them from the streets while the media are not looking. Says the most effective riot control is to take movement leaders off the field, infiltrate their networks, disrupt the flow of funding, and roll them up in federal investigations. He's denying the left-trained protest leaders now will create a strong precedent for the rest of the president's term. Rebecca, that is what one of their so-called thought leaders literally rolled out. This ain't got nothing to do with flags. These people, they are calling to snatch people off the streets, unmarked van. Trump is saying that he is going to send European citizens to Guantanamo Bay and will not tell their home country where they're located. Go ahead.
So, Roland, I'm in the movement space. I lead a national organization. A lot of the conversation that especially other leaders of color are having is about personal safety, safety of our staff. I personally know movement leaders, whether it's state leaders, local leaders, or national leaders, who now have security detail. Like, this is a very real conversation, even as people are going in and out of the country discussing, okay, do I take my laptop? Do I take my cell phone? Do I disable the biometrics on my devices just in case that when I'm crossing back into the United States, I'm detained and they're searching through my personal or work items? This is a very real conversation. This is a conversation even across philanthropy, on the progressive side, talking about what does it look like to provide rapid support, security support, emergency support for those who are leading during this time. And so, it's very real. It's very serious. This is also what, like, we keep using words like authoritarianism and totalitarianism and fascism. So another way of telling the audience, if we are a quote unquote nation of laws, if we have a constitution, if we're saying that people have the right to vote the way they want to vote, they have the right to speak out the way they want to speak out, they have the right to protest, they have all these First Amendment rights, which is the ultimate, set of rights when we talk about First Amendment rights in this country. This president, this regime is saying that they're going to disregard it. They're saying it's not important. They're saying that they're above the law. And then last year, the Supreme Court said, well, the president could do whatever he wants to do because he is the president. So these are very troubling times. This isn't just something that I'm even saying in abstract. This is something having to live it out, having to talk to my staff and to make sure that they're not scared. Make sure that their families aren't scared. So earlier when I was saying it's time for white people to use their white bodies and their white privilege, this is what I'm talking about. Because if you are Black, if you are brown, if you are perceived as an other in this country, they would deport you too. Let's not act like Black Americans can't, quote unquote, be deported in this regime. That's next. That's what's happening. The whole point of this is to silence people, to scare them, to stun them, so then he could spend the next 3 years doing things that will permanently impact and permanently harm this country.
Mm-hmm. Final comment from Joe, final comment from Joy, then we are done.
We just have to make sense of everything that's going on. And if it doesn't make sense, we have to make sense of what it is that we do. We do have to be strategic about taking care of ourselves, about taking care of each other. A lot of these things have come to many of our minds. Everything from concealed carry permits on down. I mean, it is really on right now, the things that are going on and the things that we're thinking about. And at the same time, I think there is a way to do both. Yeah, we're in a different place as it pertains to what the government seems to want to do, as it pertains to what the president seems to want to do. At the same time, I say that there is convincing to be had, convincing to be made, so that people that are inclined to vote the right way still need to be brought out to vote. We still need to be very, very aggressive about creating opportunities to vote, about understanding the moving targets and that keep getting made and the barriers that keep getting removed. We need people in entertainment with big money to help us with voter things. If it has to do with making sure people can get to the polls, that they have voter IDs, if that's what it is that they need to have, we can no longer not vote, not participate because of the barriers that are put up when we have the numbers. So whatever gets us there, that's what I support. Whatever gets us there, participating, belonging, and watching out for each other so that when something's amiss, we know right away, and therefore we can respond.
Joy.
I agree completely with what Joe and Rebecca have said. Really, this is a time of strategy. If you are a leader of an organization, you need clear goals, and you need to be able to say no to some things because that's not your lane, and you need to say yes to some things so that you can focus. You need to be focused on what you need to do in order to convince the decision makers that you need to convince. Whatever that looks like for you, you need to be able to do that and to zero in and focus on that. We are getting way too distracted with every comment and every issue that comes about. It is not important. Clear out the shiny red objects, sparkly objects, and focus on that which you can change and who you need in order to achieve that change. That's our only goal now. The feeling part, if you are a leader, the feeling part is what should drive you to be more strategic. So that's for our civil rights leaders. That's for our women's rights leaders. That's for the Democratic Party and any Republicans who want to be with us as well. If you don't like what you are seeing, this is the time to be strategic, to not just be impassioned, but to be smart. That's where we are going right now, because the stakes not are for all of us are high, but there are certain people the stakes are the highest for. And if we care about them, we have to be smart.
Folks, what we are facing are thugs. That's what they are. They are thugs, and people are responding to thugs in the way they feel is best to get their attention. That is what is happening. So let me thank Joy. Let me thank Joe. Let me thank Rebecca. I really appreciate it. Thank you so very much, folks. That is it for me. I'll be broadcasting live from Memphis, Tennessee tomorrow, so look forward to being there. I'm speaking at noon tomorrow. We'll be, of course, carrying that right here on the Black Star Network. Don't forget, support the work that we do. Join the Breeding Funk Fan Club. I want you to... of course, contribute to us via Cash App. If you want to do so, use the Stripe QR code. You see it right here. Click the Cash App pay button to contribute. Want to send a check of money? In order to do so, make it out to Roland Martin Unfiltered. Make it payable to Roland Martin Unfiltered. Send it to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037 7-0196. PayPal's R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo RM Unfiltered. Zelle Roland at RolandSMartin.com. Roland at RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Download the Black Star Network app. Apple phone, Android phone, Apple TV, Android TV, Roku, Amazon Fire TV, Xbox One, Samsung Smart TV. Be sure to get a copy of my book, White Fear, How the Browning of America is Making White Folks Lose Their Minds. Available at bookstores nationwide. Don't forget, you can also get your Roland Martin Unfiltered Black Star Network swag by going to rolandmartin.creator-spring.com. You see the shirts we have, especially Don't Blame Me, I voted for the black woman. You also, of course, can shop our black-owned products by going to shopblackstarnetwork.com. Shopblackstarnetwork.com. Check it out. Be sure to download the app Fanbase. And, of course, we want you to support this Series A crowdfund. More than $12 million has already been raised. $17 million is the goal. Go to startengine.com/fanbase. And shout out to my parents, Reginald and Imelda Martin. Yesterday, June 10th, was their 58th wedding anniversary. Do y'all have the photo there? Y'all should have the photo. I put it in group meeting to pull up. So pull it up. So yesterday, they were hanging out, celebrating again 58 years of marriage. Did y'all get the photo? Let me see. Go ahead and pull it up. I'll send it again. If y'all can pull the photo up. And so, again, every June 10th, so yesterday, of course, we cut the show short. We played the David Oyelowo interview in the second half of the show because I had a meeting to go to. So I wanted to give them a shout out today. Look at them going out, looking all cute and everything as they go and hang out. So I'll be in Houston this weekend for Father's Day. And so be celebrating there. So 58 years of marriage yesterday on June 10th. All right, did y'all get it now? Y'all have it? Let me know y'all got it. So y'all can flash the photo. Again, tomorrow, let me tell you about Memphis. Tomorrow, I'm going to be speaking. It is actually a Juneteenth celebration taking place tomorrow. Juneteenth Memphis taking place in the Grand Ballroom of Holiday Inn, University of Memphis. Their Juneteenth Freedom Lunch. So I look forward to doing that. And so we'll do so. And so, all right, show the photo. There you go. That's them hanging out yesterday, going out to eat. So shout out to my parents. Folks, that's it. I'll see y'all guys tomorrow right here, Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. Now let's go check out Truth Talks. Holla!